Election day is in 15 days, and there's a flood of political news to break down. We've got you covered. We've done the heavy lifting. We read into the stories that are popping off the page as the race to the White House enters the home stretch here. The host of Rising on the Hill, Robby Soave, joins me live. Hey, Robby, good morning to you. Let's get right in. What's popping off the page to you this morning?
Well, here's a scoop from Axios. Israel submitted a document to U.S. officials last week outlining their terms for how to have a diplomatic resolution in the conflict with Lebanon. Now, the IDF wants to retain the right to engage in active enforcement in southern Lebanon to prevent Hezbollah's resurgence. That's going to be a sticking point, though. The Biden administration obviously has faced massive pressure from its base, including many progressives and Arab Americans, to have greater peace in the Middle East, to wind down the war with Lebanon and what's happening in Gaza, particularly now that Hamas terrorist leader Yahya Sinwar, the architect of October 7th, was killed last week. But Lebanon is unlikely to agree to those demands that the IDF continue to be active in the region, which means perhaps these hopes for peace could once again fail, and that matters with the election just a few weeks away. We'll turn now to Politico, where there is an in-depth look at Elon Musk's Herculean efforts to help former President Donald Trump recapture the White House. Musk has repeatedly said that he's all in for Trump, and he's spending actually $75 million on his pro-Trump PAC. Musk is also giving away $1 million randomly to people every day, $1 million to someone who signs his PAC's petition and is also a registered voter in one of the swing states. Now, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro actually addressed that over the weekend, saying that he was deeply concerned and perhaps law enforcement even should take a look into whether it could be perhaps a campaign finance law violation. Shapiro said on Meet the Press that he's, quote, made it very clear, Elon has, that he supports Donald Trump. I don't, obviously, we have a difference of opinion. I don't deny him that right, end quote. But then he did go on to have issues with the $1 million giveaway, a UCLA law professor also speaking up and reaching that same conclusion. But what this really points to is the increasing enmity between Democrats and Silicon Valley tech folks. Musk has moved firmly into the pro-Trump camp. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, has moved from being broadly supportive of Democrats to pledging neutrality on Facebook. It's a sign of the times for where the tech community is headed, in my view. Now we're moving on to the Hill, where the Hill is reporting that members of Congress are facing mounting calls to return to Capitol Hill ahead of schedule, actually, and address these critical budgetary hurdles. For instance, the Small Business Administration's disaster loans program is in desperate need of additional funding. That's actually an area where Republicans and Democrats agree. President Joe Biden and Speaker Mike Johnson have said they're on the same page about doing something about that. Of course, there's FEMA, there is Veterans Affairs. Now, Congress is not supposed to be back in session until right after the election. A lot of American people are frustrated with that, given how the hurricane disasters, how FEMA has handled that. A lot of bipartisan frustration with what has been in part of the congressional agenda. Moving along now to Semaphore, where they have an in-depth look at a forthcoming race to decide who will be the next Republican leader in the U.S. Senate. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell obviously is retiring. A number of Republicans running to succeed him in that race, including Minority Whip John Thune, former Minority Whip John Cornyn, and Florida Senator Rick Scott. Republicans are widely expected to retake control of the Senate on November 5th. So this election for leadership will take place the week after and would be presumably to elect a majority leader. Behind the scenes, Republican Senator Mike Lee, he wants these would-be leaders to actually promise, this is interesting, to dilute their power by requiring that major decisions would be agreed to previously by 75% of the Republican senators. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis says that's a terrible idea. He actually said, quote, anybody in leadership who thinks that Mike Lee's ideas are good, that is automatically disqualifying to serve in the position. So it'll be interesting to see if the next Republican leader does, in fact, pledge to give up power. That's something Kevin McCarthy did in order to stay in charge, and it didn't end up working out for him.
Yeah, we're fed an avalanche of political news every day. Thank you for telling us what's worth our time and what's not. Robby Soave, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.